Hi guys, my name is Vanje, and in this video we're going to be seeing the cutting and sewing process of this shirt with half elastic band. These are the measurements you need. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. So I'm going ahead right now to take the full length of my short plus 2 inches, and at that top part and minus 1.5 inches, then I made a mark. So to know the amount of fabric that you fold, you divide your time measurement by 2 plus 1 inch. At that mark I made initially, I'm just going to rule it out into a straight line, and this is going to be my waistline. So minusing 1.5 inches, I'll take the full length of my pants. I'm minusing 1.5 inches because this short is going to have a waistband of 2 inches. So I'll take the full length of my short, which is 16 inches. Then I'm just going to rule that out. So that's 2 inches remaining at the bottom is going to be my M line, my M allowance, sorry. So still taking that 1.5 inches outside, I'm going to take my waist to hip measurement, which is 8 inches, and my waist to crotch measurement, which is 11 inches. Then I'm just going to rule these lines out. So going ahead to divide my hip measurements by 4. My hip measurement is 40, divided by 4 is 10. I'm going to mark that measurement at my hip line plus 1 inches for seam allowance. So what I have on my hip line, I'm going to transfer it to my waistline. And I'm also going to transfer it to my crotch line. So what I did just now is I divided my hip measurement by 4 plus 1 inch, and I took the measurements at my hip line, my crotch line and my waistline, the same measurement. I'm just going to connect these points together to form a straight line. So at my crotch line, I'm going to be dividing my time measurement by 2. So my time measurement is 25, divided by 2 is 12.5. I'm going to be taking that measurement at my crotch line. Then I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance. Then I'm just going to curve out my crotch. So I'm going to go ahead and fold my M allowance. I'll just fold it like that. Then I'll take my M measurements divided by 2 plus 1 inch. So you take the measurement of the place you want your short to end, and that is the measurement you're going to put here. So mine was 24 divided by 12 plus 1 inch for seam allowance. So right now we are basically done with the um front, and we're just going to cut it out. So I'm just going to divide this pants or this shirt into two. So this is our front panel. So I've gone ahead to place my front panel on a fresh fabric to cut out my back panel, and you can see at the side seam of my front panel I left about 2 inches. This is because the back panel is going to be wider than the front by 2 inches. You can choose to leave these 2 inches at the side of your crush, but like I decided to leave at the side of my side seam. Anywhere you leave it is fine. So at my crush line I went up by 2 inches, then I'm connecting that 2 inches to my waistline, just like that, with a slanted line. So I'm just checking to make sure I have 2 inches. So you leave 2 inches at your waistline, 2 inches at your hip, 2 inches at your crush, just 2 inches all the way down. So we are done with our back. We're just going to cut it out. Everything the same apart from that 2 inches that were left and that 2 inches extension we did at the crush. So we have succeeded in cutting our front and our back panel. You can see everything looking the same apart from that 2 inches we left at the side and at the top. So you can see if I shift it to this side, you can see that the 2 inches allowance is transferred to this side. So that is what I meant when I said you can choose to leave your 2 inches any side, at the cross side or at the side same side. So now I'm going to go to my machine and join my crush by half of an inch, my front crush. This pant is not going to have a dart, but you can choose to add that. I also go ahead to join my back crush by half of an inch. So I've gone ahead to join my crush. This is my front and this is my back. So at this point you can go ahead to add your dart, but for this particular pant I am not adding that. So I also went ahead to cut out pockets. You know, this invisible pocket, I went ahead to cut it out, 4 pieces. So I'm going to be attaching it to my front and my back. So this is my front panel, right? So what I'll do now is I'll measure 1 inch from the waist. I'll measure 1 inch downwards. And at the other side, so I'm also going to measure the same 1 inch downwards. And this is where I'm going to place my pocket. My pocket is going to start from that 1 inch mark. So placing my pocket front facing front, I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down by half of an inch. and also at the other side by half of an inch also. So I'm going to do the same. So I'm going to do the same for my back panel. I'm also going to measure 1 inch downwards from the waistline at the both sides. So I measure 1 inch downwards from the waistline, and I'm also going to place my pocket. Then I'll go ahead and sew it. So I've gone ahead to attach my pocket to my front panel and also my back panel. So this is how it's looking. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be joining the two panels together at the side seam. So making sure that it's equal at the sides, I'm going to take 1 inch allowance, then I'll stitch. So I'm just going to sew along that line. When I get to where my pocket starts, I'll make a stitch and sew around my pocket. Then when I get to where my pocket stops, I'm going to continue sewing with my 1 inch allowance. I'm going to do the same at the other side, making sure it is also equal at the side. So I've gone ahead to join my sides, and this is how it is looking. So from beginning I took 1 inch, then I stitched, stopped, sewed my pocket, then stitched again all the way down. So I did this for the both sides. So right now what we're going to do is I'm going to go to my sewing machine and stitch the bottom part of the shorts. So I'm gonna add now to join the bottom part of my short, and this is how it's looking. So what I'll do now is to measure the circumference of my waist. Starting from the center front, I just took my tape around it. So I have 44.5 inches, so I'm going to use this measurement to cut out my waistband. I've gone ahead to cut out my waistband. I cut out 46 inches long and 5 inches wide. I also went ahead to iron paper gum on it. I also folded ½ inch in, then I folded it again into two, leaving ½ inch out. So let's join it to the short. So I folded my waistband in by ½ inch, and I just placed it at my back crush line. You can see that it's the wrong side that is facing up. You want to sew from the wrong side, so I will just sew like that.
I'm sitting here wondering
as we're approaching the end, we're just going to sew straight down. So if your fabric is remaining a lot at this point, just go ahead and trim it. So we're just going to sew straight down, making sure we overlap our start point. Don't fold anything, just sew it, making sure you overlap your start point by at least half of an inch to 1 inch is okay. Just make sure you overlap your start point. So I noticed my hand was blocking this video. I'm sorry about that. You would have seen clearly what I did, but I'm sure you understand. So we can see how the waistband is looking. We can see that I overlapped mine with about half of an inch. So you want to do the same. So we're going to be closing the waistband now. We're just going to be placing that folded edge over the one that is not folded. So I'm going to be sewing it. Please, when sewing this, make sure you're sewing close to the edge, because this is going to be visible on the outside. We want it to be neat. So we can see how it's looking clean. So we just trim out the excess allowance. You can see it aligns with our back crush line as it should. So this is the back side of my shirt. I'm just going to be measuring the waist circumference of just the back. So after measuring, I add 21.5 inches. So I'll fold that into two and cut the elastic. So I had 10.75, so I cut out elastic of 10 inches. But I'll advise you reduce your elastic, whatever you have, just reduce it by 2 inches or 3 to have a tight fit. So I'm just going to pin one end of my elastic at the side seam and pin the other end at the side seam. So I'll go to my machine and stitch the elastic down to the waistband. Then we can go ahead and close our waistband. So I'm stitching the elastic down now. You can see I'm going multiple times because I want it to be strong. So I'll also stitch the other side. So right now we're done stitching. We're going to go ahead and pin our waistband. The stitches we made our waistband, we'll pin it to align with our back crush line. So I'm going ahead now to run a stitch to close my waistband. So we are done with our shorts. See the way the back is looking. I also went ahead to hem it using the allowance that we left, and see the way it's looking at the front.